Alright, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing the micro build challenge. So today I am building a micro house with the new Tiny Living expansion pack. So we're limited to 32 tiles, which in all honesty didn't end up being as difficult as I thought it would be initially. But as you can see here, we're just starting with like a little square, decided to give it a little porch space to make it look a little different. We're also going to be using a lot of the new items just to kind of explore the new pack and see what we have to offer. I think this shower is what I've seen a lot of people use it in these builds because it takes up so much less space and it makes these tiny bathrooms way more possible. So I'm kind of furnishing as I go here just to make it a little easier on myself. I end up changing the floor plan around a couple times. I initially tried to put the kitchen right up front and end up moving the kitchen to the back just because I thought the space made more sense that way. So here you'll see me trying to make this kitchen work up front. And we actually do end up going with this kitchen layout, but I changed some colors and changed the actual placement of the kitchen. I've really been into this blue fridge lately. I try to put it in like all my builds, but I end up switching it here. I really like the feel of this new pack. I wish it had had kitchen counters, like some modern ones, but that's alright. But I like the mid-century modern vibe. I think it goes with stuff we already have really well, but it also adds to like a look that I think a lot of people like to go for in The Sims. It's a look I like to use a lot. Here I am trying to use those last 3 tiles and I decided to save them. I didn't like it there. It just ends up feeling really cramped by the front door, which is why I move the door around. So this house actually ends up being a starter home for a single sim. Initially when I'm building here, I was just building in like the free build mode. I do end up grabbing a sim eventually just to help me keep track of that money. And here is me moving that kitchen to the back of the house. I keep the exact same floor plan. I do end up bumping the back kitchen section out just a little bit here and moving the bathroom around. Which I can't remember if I keep that bathroom door there or not. I think I do. And then here's me deciding that I really want to use the Murphy bed. I wasn't going to initially because it does take up kind of, having to have it fold down takes up space because you can't like use a footstool in front of the couch. But I decided it was worth it. Here I am bumping that kitchen out, which I think helped a lot. I think that was the right place to use those last 3 tiles. And then here I am. I tried really hard to find a table that I liked there. I didn't, so I actually ended up using like an island piece and then setting it up to be like a little eating / work area. I feel like you could put a laptop right there and make it a little office area. I think I ended up putting a bulletin board above it too to make it feel a little more like utility-like rather than like a dining space. Oh, I hope you guys can't hear that. I'm rocking on my chair and it squeaks a little bit. I'll have to stop that. I'm a fidgeter. I just can't help it. All right, so the color scheme on this apartment is kind of something I don't normally go for. It's like a lot of those mid-tone woods mixed with a little bit of light tone wood and then a lot of black and white. But I actually really like how it came out. There are little pops of like green and that tealy blue like we did with the chair in the kitchen. Pretty quick here, I'll be placing down a rug. I really love the rugs that came with this pack. I think the texture on them is so nice. So here I am working on the porch a little bit. I end up changing the color of everything outside eventually here, but I think it was just easier to furnish as I go. And then I decided I want a little living space outside. I think that's kind of realistic to having a tiny home. You spend a lot of time outside of your house because inside the house is so small. So this home could work for 2 Sims because they can scooch over in bed, but when I made it, I was kind of intending it for it to be for 1 Sim. And there's that rug I love so much. Alright, so we're back here. So I decided to do a little bit of work on the bathroom. So I actually had come back a different day and was very motivated to change things around here. So I'd seen some other YouTubers do the thing where you size down the sink and make it fit right by the toilet, but I end up actually putting it closer to the shower, and I decided to use the one that came with this pack. It's just so cute and dainty. I did have a little trouble picking a mirror that would like sit nicely with that. I know a lot of people have said it, but the mirror that came with this pack is weirdly high on the wall, especially if you size down that sink. It looks a little silly. So here I am just player testing it quickly, making sure we can get to everything in the bathroom, and I actually end up having to do that again because a little later on I do decide that we're going to have laundry. And with having laundry in this pack, I also decided to add a hamper into the bathroom. So here I am kind of finishing up that kitchen section. And then I really struggled to decide what skills could be here. I've been really liking the wellness skills lately in my actual gameplay. So I was trying to fit some of those in, struggling with that. Here I am adding laundry. But I searched for a long time trying to find a skill that I don't use that much that I could place. So what I think I end up going for here is yoga, meditation, and painting, which I feel like is a pretty good array of skills to have at your home. I think obviously if you live in a tiny home, you probably go out of the house for a lot of that kind of stuff. Like your house becomes a little more utilitarian and you spend a lot of your hobby time out and about. So in the Skims, all that skill building time, I feel like you might go to the gym or go out to a computer cafe or whatever to work on that skill building rather than trying to do it all at home. But we do give them a couple skills to do here, and I think having the wellness skills be at home makes a lot of sense. And I think it kind of goes with that cozy homebody vibe. Like they're a very centered, wellness focused person. We are building in spring, which I hate. It makes everything outside look so dreary. So I don't do much landscaping on this lot, as we'll see when we get to that. But it's all right. I feel like maybe they're a little bit of a gardener, so when summer comes around, they could do a little of their own landscaping in actual live mode. So here I am trying to add a hamper. I spend a long time doing this. I can't remember if I cut this out. I think I do. Oh, no. So I have her play test and she can't get to anything. So we end up putting that hamper over by the toilet, sized down, and it does work. I did play test that. It just took a lot of fiddling around to figure out how I was going to make this fit. Yeah, so we end up moving that sink back into the corner, and then we'll put the hamper size down. For a while I had it out in the living room, and I end up getting rid of that dartboard too. I just didn't feel like it fit the aesthetic of the overall build. So now that she can reach everything in the bathroom, we'll do a little more work out in this little skill building corner. I feel like the easy way out would have been to put a little dining table and chair there, but we already have the little kind of seating area in the kitchen for one sim. And I feel like if this person is having multiple Sims over, maybe the two of them sit on the porch or something. Or she could set up a picnic table outside. There are lots of options here. So here I am trying to give her the $50 back that she spent getting that canvas to play test it. But we were well within the starter home budget, which is nice. I think we ended up with 5,000 simoleons left over, which I feel like is a good amount to start with. It'll let you do a little bit of decorating of your own and adding and changing things, maybe putting different skills in. So here I am finally adding windows. I had meant to do it later on and then just never really got to it. So now I'm adding windows around the furniture to try to make the house make sense. I liked the dark wood panels outside, but I didn't want it to look too dark. And then of course, a big chunk of the front of the house is the bathroom. And so you don't necessarily want a giant window into the bathroom. So we're messing with that a little bit. I think I end up going with a lot of those little square windows and some little rectangular windows as well. Placing a couple right next to each other to look into the kitchen. Yeah. And I do keep that big window on the side. Here I am adding that plant, the hanging plant that came with this pack. I just love that. I feel like every build I see that people have done with this pack, everybody uses that plant, but it sits so nicely. All the color swatches are so nice. We of course just used the white one in this build to kind of go with the whole aesthetic, and here I am trying to make the yoga mat work again. It does end up working. I did play test it. It just ends up a little moved around from here. So making sure she can get to everything because she couldn't get to the painting with it that close. Oh, there we are. And so it was just a lot of finicking around to get all the skill building items to work, but they do all work. So if you download this build, you will be able to do all 3 of those skills in your tiny little living room. Alright, so here I am finally doing the walls inside. With little homes, I think a lot of people do this, but I put the furniture down first to help space things out, so things like painting the walls tend to come later on. I decided I think that this was a little too dark, so I ended up moving the second wooded wall to be behind the bed because I didn't want it to get too dark. I know the pack has like a cozy feel, and I did like the dark, cozy look, but I felt like it was turning into like a bar kind of a look. And that's not really what I was going for. So here I am trying to find some art. I end up using the art that came with this pack, just sized down to make like a trio here. And yeah, I change it to those animals for a little pop of color. So now I'm working, I end up getting rid of this mailbox. And I'm gonna work on doing the outside. So I had a lot of trouble picking a foundation. I didn't like how dark this looked. I end up changing siding here. Struggle with this quite a bit. I think I hop into roofing eventually just to like give my eyes a break. I stick with this white for a while. And I do like the white, but I think it was almost too bright. Like I needed something a little warmer to bring out some of the warm tones in the wood. We tried pretty much everything here. So we're back on the white. So now I'm working on the roofing, and I wanted the roofing to give the house a little bit more of a modern feel. So we go for that angled roof piece. And then I tried to angle the roof on the other side of the house too, and I just had a really hard time with how it was turning out. So here I am, I try to add some glass to it. I try sizing it several different ways. I just wasn't liking how it was turning out. It wasn't giving the house the overall shape I was looking for. And here I am trying to make different things work, and I add the copper roof, which I actually really like. I think it adds like a nice warm tone to this house, which I think is what it needed. And we end up rolling with that a little more later and going with a little bit warmer tone woods around the house just to make things make sense. And here I am trying to make the skylight work again. And I do think it's okay. It just wasn't, it was looking a little too log cabiny, and I wanted it to look a little more modern and sleek, which I think with these dark woods, my mind goes to log cabin. I struggle with that. The dark woods are definitely something that's out of my normal style and aesthetic. And here I am back working on that dang foundation again. I just really struggled with that. There's Vlad walking out front. I feel like Vlad is everywhere. Like anytime you move into a new house, there's Vlad. So now I finally am changing the roof here and end up going with a flat piece. And I did struggle with this just a little bit. I think I cut it out. But normally when I'm making a house like that, I use flooring there. But if you use flooring tiles, because of the tile restriction, it thinks that's like floor space. So it counts that in the tiles. So you have to use a ceiling. Or at least from what I've been able to work out here. So I ended up changing to this warmer toned wood, which I think helped a lot. It made the house make more sense to my vision here. So now we're just doing a little bit of landscaping. Like I said, I don't like landscaping in spring. Everything looks so dead and not pleasing. And so we do very little landscaping. I'm adding the pink couch for a pop of color out front, just again to make things look a little lighter and brighter. And it is spring, so maybe you have a seasonal outdoor couch. I don't know. I don't know where you'd store that in a tiny house, I guess. I mean, it's Sims, so in your inventory, but and I did make sure we can sit on both sides of that with a little poof side table there. Here I am just adding a mailbox, and then we're going to do a little bit of landscaping here. I think I end up going with some shrubs out front, stuff that'll flower a little bit once we are into summer. Yeah, these are the shrubs I end up going with, which I like. They make the house look a little more substantial. I thought about adding a woohoo bush out here, but then I remembered we do have the shower that Sims can woohoo in now, and that should be fine. So I did not player test that part, I guess, because I only player tested with one sim, but that should work out okay. And here I am adding some flowers and grass to the base of that tree. And I think I end up adding another tree out back. Here I am in debug just looking for some plants just to see if there were any debug plants that stood out to me, because that does help keep the base game price rolling. But we end up adding another tree in the back, just some really simple landscaping. I feel like this sim might end up adding some skill building things outside just to make the house a little more functional, but we did not do that here just because I think it's nice to be able to personalize that as you play. Here I am just adding a bird feeder for another little pop of white on the corner there. And then we do just a little bit of terrain painting. And here we are. So we'll go on a little bit of a tour here and hop into screenshots. I hope you like this kind of modern, mid-century modern to go with the pack, really. Micro home build. I did not think this challenge was that small. 32 tiles goes a lot further than you think. It's definitely a tiny home, but you're able to have a full bathroom, and it is a studio. There's no bedroom, but I think you probably could work out a bedroom if you were really determined for it, especially just for one sim, and maybe if you use the single bed option. But I think it turned out pretty cute. I think it would be a good starting home for a sim. If you end up playing with this house, please let me know. And let me know what you think of the house down below. And here are our screenshots. Have a nice day. Bye.